Stick around, make a new friend afterwards. Quick little shout out to our sponsors, Chet Lapp from Providence Real Estate Settlement Services, Astoria Realty, real estate brokerage owned by myself and Ben Yoash. Jeff Mueller, also a board member, he's a private money lender. Joe Liovsky, our speaker for tonight, former owner of Compass Property Management and several other businesses. And also Sam Glick with Red Box Dumpsters. David, you can come on up here. So David works with us at Astoria Realty. He's a real estate agent. Has a little market update for us and will tell us a little bit about what's going on in the local market.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep. This is back and this is front.
Okay,
So
very good.
got the pointer back.
Yep.
Computer there.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is David King. I'm with Astoria Realty, a local brokerage there with Chris and Benio, and Ethan's here as well. Yeah, we have a lot of fun together and enjoy all those guys. So yeah, just a quick market update here. See if I know how to run this thing. Here we have our interest rates, current national average and your refinance average. 6.5 is about where we're at. You have, obviously with investments, you're looking at a half a point or a point more than that. But yeah, so still feels like it's a little high probably if we compare it with a 3%. Or I guess we could compare it with 15% in the 80s and then we'd have to say it's pretty good. So however you want to choose to do that. Here's a little bit of a tracker that I found. Shows the dark areas are where there's the biggest shortage, and then on down through you see some areas kind of local to us there where there's some shortages, and then just kind of give you a geographical idea of where we're at there. The Lanchester County market is still, I think, we feel like it's still pretty good as far as continuing to grow. Locally, the places are still selling. Here we have the growth in population, which contributes to some of that. Places, people, obviously it's a supply and demand thing, so where you have more people, you need more houses. We're looking at the prices. Right around, we have some areas there locally, from Lidditz to Quarryville through Lanchester and Columbia, and you can tell there what houses are selling for and what they're listed at. So it's still, yeah, some areas you'll find that are lower than locally here. This chart I found quite interesting with where we are today. If you look at that, you'll see in where we were before COVID, right there around that optimal range. And then we dropped down to about -20, which basically says that the negative reflects a surplus in houses for sale, so there was a lot of houses for sale over that time. And then as we go back up through 22 and you see that number start to climb, and then it shoots up in 23 where it's now dramatically the other way, a shortage. And there again, supply and demand, but when you see a drastic change like that, there's usually a correction that happens with places being bought for maybe too much or whatever, and it starts to go the other way. So yeah, our optimal range is around the 2 number for that one. And as we see now, we're actually still above that optimal range, and it feels like places are kind of selling for less and stagnant overall nationally. Maybe not quite as much locally, but still some. So here we have the pending home sales are increasing in April. It seems we usually have in the spring, it tends to pick up, and we see that happening here. We have a 1.4% increase in homes going under contract. That means we're picking up some in the summer there, or going into summer. And then as we look ahead into the rest of the year. Obviously, we don't know where the interest rates are going to be, what that's all going to look like. Is it going to continue to be a seller's market, or is it going to become a buyer's market? We probably prefer somewhere in the middle there would be good. Too much one way or the other will tend to correct over time. So yeah, like I said, the interest rates still seem pretty high, and we were expecting them to be lower by this time. Last year, with the expectations were to have a few cuts by now, and then we had the geopolitical uncertainty going on, and that does not typically help the people's comfort levels. Yeah, who knows where it'll go. I think personally that they're going to probably stay where they are. They might drop some, but I don't think we should expect too much this year with everything and high gas prices and inflation. So they have to figure out a way to combat that, and that means maybe leaving them high for longer. So yeah, I think I'm with everyone else. The 3% range is nice, but we're probably not always going to have that. And yeah, if we compare it with the 80s, and we have 18 to 20% interest rates, and we're nowhere close to that now, and I think we probably wouldn't want to be either, or I wouldn't want to be. So yeah, nobody has a crystal ball, and it's kind of hard to tell with the uncertainty, but yeah, it just feels like there's a lot of things up in there, and that's going to make them hold the rates. So yeah, that's about all I have. So I'll give it back to Chris.
Cool. Thank you, David. What's the old saying? It's not timing the market, it's time in the market, right? Anyway, our speaker tonight is Joe Liovsky, a longtime patron of the group, one of the founders, actually. And one of the things I appreciate about Joe is he has a teacher's heart. So he really cares that people succeed, and it shows. I think that'll be quite obvious this evening. Joe has spent the last 40 plus years in several different businesses in real estate. He bought his first investment property in 1983. And what did you pay for that again? $27,000, and rented it for $400, right? Yep. So how many of you were even here at that time? You don't have to raise your hands. Yeah. That's great. So I'm sure plenty of us wishes we had bought houses in 1983 for $27,000. Joe founded and sold Compass Property Management Group. More recently got into the mobile home park space, which that'll be his topic tonight. He also wrote a book about it. I read it myself, learned a ton. I'm not in the space yet, but I took some nuggets away from reading that. Cool. I will stop rambling and let Joe take it from here.
All right, well, thank you, Chris. While he's playing with the computer, I did look back, and the group started in 2013. It's the spring of 2013, so it's been 13 years. And one of the things that we used to have is every time before we started a meeting, we'd say that Lanchester Real Estate Investment Group provides educational support for local real estate investors while promoting professionalism and success based on high ethical and moral standards of all parties involved. And I'm hoping that's still the message today. And there's a lot of talk about different ways to invest, different things you can do. And I just want to try and put this little piece out here that we've all seen firsthand how disastrous poorly vetted syndications can be. I don't know if you guys follow the bigger pockets, but there was just a $50 million loss with that. But there's also some in Lancaster County, no names needed, but consequences were real. So before you invest, do your due diligence. It's not optional. Talk to a lawyer or CPA. If you can't afford professional advice, you probably shouldn't be investing in that deal. And that's all I'm going to say for that. So for 13 years, we've been talking about education and helping people, and the last thing we want to do is, suggest you get into something that might not be a good deal. All right, so that's it for that piece. All right, so thank you, Chris. I really did the update on the charts and graphs. It's a nice visual. So I had thought about just coming up here and telling you how great mobile home parks are, and I really do enjoy investing, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the journey, how I got there, and why, because a lot of you will never invest in a mobile home park, but some of the information, some of the help might be able to help you in your real estate journey anyway. So 40 years, and how did I end up mobile home parks? So some of the lessons are going to be from my perspective as a property manager and rental properties, systems that might help you, and overlooked opportunities, some opportunities I took advantage of, some that I didn't, and eventually led me to write a book. So the book just came out a few months ago. It's available on Amazon. There's my plug, and there'll be a QR code at the end if you want it. That's it for the sales. So why mobile home parks? Why not single-family homes? Single-family homes are a great way to invest in real estate. Most people who start in real estate are going to start with single-family homes. They're everywhere. They're easy to find. They're easy to finance. They're fairly easy to rent. They're easy to sell if you need to get out of them. Biggest problem you're going to have once you buy them is probably managing them. Flipping, if you have a construction background or if you're good at being a project manager, flipping could be a great way to make some money. Self-storage, there's no tenants. I know some people who did really well in self-storage, but beat up on self-storage a little bit tonight. I think there's some people that think that's the next thing they want to syndicate, and I think self-storage is overbuilt. Significantly, really overbuilt. Apartments, instead of having a bunch of single-family homes, you can have 8 or 10 units under one roof. Airbnb, it's a great way to invest. It's changed a little bit. It's more of a business as opposed to investing in real estate. Money lending, done right, you can make money, and you have collateral, so even if it goes bad, you can get the collateral back. But for me, none of these things checked all the boxes as much as mobile home parks. Syndications, I can't impress upon you. I'd like to look every one of you in the eye. I can't impress enough on you that syndications, for the most part, suck. And if you're ever going to invest a 6-figure check, you really need to know what you're doing, and you need to talk to your CPA or your accountant or your lawyer and find out. There's just way too many people that work really hard, make some money, and then that appeal of making a 12 or 15% return for doing nothing is just really appealing to a lot of people, and a lot of people got burnt. So 40 years in real estate, I spent the first 10 years learning what not to do. And I thought there was going to be mailbox money. I was going to buy houses, fix them, whatever I needed to do, rent them out, and the checks come in the mail. And it was passive income. That was kind of really what I thought I was getting into. So I bought a house in Coatesville for $27,000. I did learn a lesson there. For me, when I'm buying things, I always like the story of why somebody's selling it. There was 3 family members that owned this house, and I think that's how they picked the price of $30,000, because there's 3 of them, they wanted 10 grand. And when I found that out, I was like, 9 grand's pretty close to 10 grand, so I offered 27, and they took it. That's literally was my negotiating style. How much are they going to get? I think they'll probably take $1,000 less, so I offered 27, they took it. Rented it for $400. Didn't know anything about property management. I just know that I had to get a lease and get them paying it. Lots of mistakes. I think there's another slide that talks about some of the things that you don't want to do. We did have a lease, but we didn't collect all the security deposit, didn't get all the paperwork and everything done before they moved in, and it took weeks to collect all that. After he moved in, he told me he was a contractor, he could fix things up. I thought, oh great, I can save money on the contract, you had him do that. So there was a lot of lessons learned with the first one. That was the steepest learning curve, and then slowly after that, So anyway, systems are important. Lots and lots of lessons in real estate over the years. So real estate is not passive. For those of you who think you're going to buy real estate and it's going to be a passive investment, that's probably not going to be, because passive income doesn't call you at 2 a.m. when the pipes leak. It's just not passive. So for the property management perspective, what matters and what mattered to me was, if you don't have software, you got to at least have good bookkeeping. You have to know your numbers. It's hard to fix things or change things if you can't measure them, and you can't measure them if you don't have your numbers. Maintenance, real estate involves people. People want a nice place to live, and if you can't take care of their maintenance requests on a timely issue, you're going to have problems, and that's in any type of real estate. You should have written policies, procedures, documentation. I don't want to beat that to death, but it's really important that everything needs to be in writing. You don't want to get accused of a fair housing violation, and if you don't have documentation to prove it, that could be a problem. Join your state agencies, whatever it is that you're doing. Every state has a mobile home park agency. Pennsylvania's PMHA, Pennsylvania Manufactured Housing Association. I have a park in Alabama. It's AMA, whatever, Alabama Manufactured Housing Association. Everybody has one. Almost every state has an apartment association. In property management, there's PMHA, property management. Oh, geez, I can't remember. NARPM, National Residential Property Management. Right. So join your state agencies. They'll have generic forms that you can use to get started, but they'll also have tons of information. So join your state agencies. What do we got here? Real estate is not passive. Got to have written lease. Got to collect all your paperwork and all your documentation before you hand over the keys, because that's when they're most incentivized, is to get everything done. Don't ever let tenants work in your property. And anybody that does, if you're going to do this as a business, they really need to be licensed and insured, and you really need to track that information. Don't wait to file eviction. Maintenance is a huge concern, and it's a big reason why tenants leave. It's either money or maintenance. So both of those things are big deals. Put everything in writing. All righty, the power of the pen. So back in 2018, we set about 8 or 10 different goals. One of them was to get to 500 doors. We had a goal for what our delinquency was going to be, what percentage of people were paying rent online. We got up 2%. But anyway, we had to set a bunch of goals, and we had it in writing, and we hit every goal except for one. We got to 499, and we got to 500 a week or two later. But so every one of those goals was hit. Things in writing is good. Goals matter. And did we miss a slide?
Joe, is that management or your own doors?
Managing 500 doors. Oh, I think I missed a slide. Anyway, so if you're wanting to grow your business, whatever it is, whatever your goals are, the first thing before you start writing these things down is eliminate things that you can eliminate. Automate things that need automated, and that would be, in our world, we automated the application process. We automated the lease process where the tenants could sign stuff online, and we tried to automate it as much as possible. And then delegate, so you don't have to be the only person there. We got other people involved to do it. You can get VAs, and you talk to people who have VAs, and then you want your processes and systems. So yeah, something else happened in 2019. I was actually going through a divorce while we were trying to meet these goals. And because of the systems and process we had in place, the business was fine even though I wasn't, because it wasn't just dependent on me. If your business is just depending on you, you're got a problem. Daniel, are you still flipping houses? You got 1.5 arms, and he's got other people working with him. If he was a one-man band, and he got an arm in a sling, he's out of business for 4 or 6 months. So anyway, systems and processes. So don't just build income, build systems. So all these things are rattling around in my brain of what kind of business can I have? I'm trying to think about the future. Single-family homes. So I had a bunch of single-family homes, and I don't remember where in the thought process or who it was that told me this, but I don't think you can retire with 10 homes. Some people say you get 10 homes, get them paid off, and you'll be okay. I don't think you can do a 10. So if the number's 20 or 25, and there's some people in here who have 20 or 25 homes, that means every year for the rest of your life, if the average roof lasts 25 years, you're putting a roof on forever, for the rest of your life. If a water heater lasts 10 years, every year for the rest of your life, you're putting in 2.5 water heaters in your 25 rentals. If windows last 50 years, every other year you're putting in new windows. And appliances, they last 7 years. Every year you're putting in 4 stoves or 4 refrigerators. That's just the way it is. These things break. So I didn't love the idea of me being responsible for those things every year for forever, no matter how well the business was running, how many systems we had in place. There's just things that are just going to break. All that stuff is great, but property maintenance sucks. Property management you can deal with. but things are gonna break. So anyway, when things go wrong, your processes and procedures can keep you on track, but there's still things that are physically gonna happen. So discovering mobile home parks. If you don't own the homes, there's very little maintenance that you're going to be responsible for. You're going to be responsible for the water, sewer, and electric lines, basically, and blacktop. There's lots of demand. There's not a whole lot of competition. There's competition for parks now, but there's not that much. You're not competing with the big boys for the small parks. You got sticky tenants, and the national average for apartment dwellers is about 30 months, so about 2.5 years. It's 13 years for somebody who owns their own home that's in a park. Once again, in that if you own 25 homes and you're looking at, if you amortize all the things that you're going to have to do every year and the number of people that are going to move, and even if you have the best homes in the world and your average tenant staying twice as long and they're staying 5 years, that's still 5 move-outs every year, forever. Just, you're going to, so I like 13. Stable cash flow, and you can get away with fewer or no employees. Why small parks? A lot of people don't want to be bothered with them. They're not cool. They're not apartment buildings. They're not the cool or sexy investment. I like them. There's not a lot of competition, and there's no on-site management required. If you have a big apartment building or a huge park, you're gonna need some on-site help. So, short history of mobile home parks. There's always been a need for affordable housing, and I think a lot of people, when they think of mobile homes or trailers, I think that's what they think of. The 1950s, 1960s version of a trailer that was brought in on wheels, drugged there, and left there. So in World War II, there was a lot of housing that was needed. There were actually mobile home parks set up near certain factories. It was completely different than today. It was workforce housing. They were all privately developed, and there were dozens of people making trailers at that time. And there was no real set standard. They just were making whatever it was. But it was not subsidized affordable housing. So it wasn't subsidized like a Section 8 apartment building. You could actually own it. And so today, this was a better picture of a single wide. So the industry changed, but most people's thinking didn't. They still think of them as the old trailers. So in 1976, HUD came along and said, if you're going to build homes, there's going to be a certain standard you have to build them by. And that was a safety standard, it was energy standard, and they're just completely different. So safety standards, energy, they're all put on some type of permanent foundation. In Pennsylvania, you can get away with piers every 8 feet. They're 2 foot round, 3 foot deep, but there's some type of permanent foundation so these homes don't move. You can have a trailer classified as real estate. You can do what they say is called retire the title. And yeah, the problem isn't things got more expensive. Affordable housing got expensive faster. So in Chris's slide, I'm sorry, Chris, it was David, was it? Your slide. Lidditz, the average price of a house in Lidditz is over $400,000. That's pretty significant. That went up pretty fast. Affordable housing's gone up even faster. And it's not that more people want to live in a small home or a trailer, it's that it's all they can afford. So when you have a larger group of people going for a smaller thing, it literally has gone up faster. So we got rising home prices, rents are rising, people can't find a place to live, supply is shrinking. Oh, is that about to change? So this slide that I'm going to put up here, this just came out yesterday, that as of, this is nationwide, this is not in Pennsylvania or Lanchester County, but there's 600,000 more sellers than buyers. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, but all of a sudden there seems to be a lot more sellers than buyers. So the rising home prices, are we getting close to the end? I don't know. Do your own homework about that. But what I do know is this is off of Realtor.com, and the price of a single-family home since 2019 has gone up about 60%, but mobile homes have gone up 70%. And I have homes in my park that are selling for more than what people bought the homes for. And it's not that, like I said, it's not like everybody wants to live in a single-wide trailer, but with inflation, the cost of building them has gone up significantly, and they have no other option. So if your other option is $450,000 or $100,000 or $125,000, there's more people chasing the smaller ones. The price just is going up. Builders aren't building to solve the housing problem. They're building to make money, and you're not going to make as much money building a ranch. They'll build a McMansion, and the McMansions are selling for $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, and that's all they're going to build. So once again, if the first-time buyers or retirees, there's just they have limited options. So there's a lot of people chasing affordable housing, and that's why it keeps going up. Storage versus housing. We prioritize storage for stuff, for profits for people. I told you I was going to give storage a little bit of a hard time. So yeah, we made it easier to build storage than we did for housing. In 2023, there was almost 100 million square feet of storage space was built. That was back in their heyday when storage prices were going up every month. And in 24, they built another 63 million. There's very few new mobile home parks being built. Very few. Lots of storage, not a lot of mobile home parks. And there's a huge example of, if I'm investing money, I don't want to invest in something, especially if it's a small mom and pop one, where somebody else could come and build something like that, or somebody's going to come along and build a climate-controlled storage unit. So anyway, that's another reason why I really liked mobile home parks. So these are just some comparisons between mobile home park, investing in a mobile home park versus investing in self-storage. You got demand's rising, let's flatten off. Supply shrinking, supply is rapidly expanding. Almost no new parks are being built versus millions of square feet. The average tenant stays for 13 years. The average storage is about 18 months to 2 years. It's a month to month. Definitely going to be more turnover. People need a place to live. They don't have to have a place to store their stuff. Why small parks? If you can find them, that's difficult. That's probably going to be the most challenging thing for everybody in the room, is actually find one that's for sale. There's just not that many of them out there. And if you can find one with a mom and pop owner that they've had it for years, maybe they haven't made a ton of improvements, and they're just kind of getting tired of it, that's the best. There's no on-site managers. They have some inefficiencies because they haven't really been paying attention to everything. Sticky tenants, the ones that are there, they probably still want to stay. So even if you're going in and cleaning it up, some of the better ones will still want to stick around. Low competition, high demand. It's about as close to passive as you can get. I do understand with self-storage, there's a lot of programs out there where people can rent their storage space, they can access the building, and without having to have you involved. I just don't like the way that somebody else can build storage right beside you and put you out of business. So what I do like about this is the almost passive income and almost no competition. Okay, so things that I look for in a mobile home park. So if you don't like public utilities, talk to Carl. He's the man. He's got a few parks, a few more in Ohio. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's my age. I just don't want to mess with on-site utilities. All on-site water, all on-site sewer will fail. All of them, every single one. We literally just don't know when. If it's a well, and even if it's a big well, it's 15 grand or 20 grand maybe, whatever, put in a well. The problem with that is, so I could literally talk here, just right here for 10 minutes, so maybe I will. When you're buying a house, if it's a well, it's one person. Septic system, it's one person. You kind of know who's doing what. With a park, if you have over 15 homes or 25 residents, DEP is going to get involved, and they're going to tell you what you can and can't do. Lower than that number, you can have a well, and you can just get it tested regularly and supply good drinking water. DEP is going to, if it's more than that, DEP is going to tell you you can't charge for water unless you meet the standard of a water company. Literally thousands of dollars. The problem I have with that is if I can't charge for water, they're going to abuse it, number one. And number two, if you have on-site sewer, if I can't charge for water and they're abusing the water, all that water is going into the septic system. Could saturate the drain fields, cause problems. If they're too lazy to turn their heat tape on in the winter and they leave their spigot run, all that water is just flowing into your drain field. So for me, I want to be able to charge for water, or at the very least, if I can't, I still want to put meters on it. And then there is a way, I was talking to DEP, you can actually have tiers. You can have a smaller, an average, and an above, and they pay for the tiers. That gets kind of weird and complicated, but public utility to me is the way to go. You're still responsible for the infrastructure in your park. There are some places, a park in Alabama, they're direct billed for water and sewer, which I love, but unfortunately I'm still responsible for the structures in the ground. There are some places that they'll be responsible for the plumbing right up to the home. So anyway, public utilities is one of my big priorities. When I'm looking at a park, if you find something for sale, this is the checklist that I go through. Growing population. If somebody says, hey, I got a park for sale, the first thing I do is go to Google and say, Lanchester, Pennsylvania, is it gaining or losing population? If it's gaining population, great. If it's staying about the same, If it's losing population, it's not always a no, but that's a big problem. So I'm not buying parks that are completely full. I'm buying ones that I'm going to fix up, make nicer. So somebody's got to move in. If the area is losing population, and if the median price of a home is less than $200,000, how do I compete with that? How do I put in a nice home that I'm going to try and sell for $100,000 and charge lot rent if they can go down the street and buy a stick-built house for $200,000 or less than $200,000? So if the demographics in the area, if they're losing population, that's probably pretty low income. And if the houses are below two, it's just a no. You can't change. Those are the kind of things you can't change. If it is on-site water and on-site sewer, and there's something nearby, and it'd be expensive to fix and run water or sewer to the park, maybe that's something you can fix. But you can't change the demographics of if they're losing population and if houses are selling cheap in the area. I want a clean park layout. That's not always a deal breaker, but you want them evenly spaced. You want them where if you have to take homes out, you can put new homes in. There are places where they're so close and the township's not going to work with you, where you're going to have to take two out to put one in, or you're going to have to take three out to put two in. So when you're running your numbers, if you're running your numbers on a 50-space park, and then you have to take out two to put one in, all of a sudden the numbers don't look so good. 55-plus communities. I think that's what manufactured housing is perfect for. It's all on one level. They're relatively inexpensive, and you literally have customers for life. They're there till they die. And then, it sounds mean, and then when they do, there's not always somebody all that excited about owning it, because probably the last 2 or 3 years, they didn't stain the deck, and they weren't really good about keeping up with everything. And when they pass, the kids just want to get rid of it. I don't always mess with them. Now I have somebody who works with me, and he just bought one for 25 grand. It needed a lot of work. I don't know if he put 25 or 30 into it, but new deck front and back, painted it, all new carpet and flooring, new appliances, new paint, cleaned up the outside. But it's for sale right now for $109. Those numbers work all day long. And in the 55-plus community, you're going to have very little turnover. They're literally there till they die. Tenant-owned homes. There are people that want to own the homes and rent them out. It's a little bit easier to get rid of tenants. It's just the Landlord-Tenant Act. It's just like having an apartment. So if you own the home and you rent it and you're getting $1,200 or $1,500 a month for it, and they stop paying rent, it is a simple matter of going to court and having them evicted. However, you're also responsible for all the maintenance and the taxes and the insurance. And these things aren't built the greatest. And if there's a water leak, I tell people they melt. And manufactured housing get wet, they get expensive to fix. So I don't want to fix it. I don't want to worry about whether somebody has a water leak or whether the water heater's been leaking for 6 months. So with tenant-owned homes, the tenant owns the home, and it is a different process to have them evicted because they could easily have spent $100,000 or on a double wide $200,000 for their home. And the idea is to protect unscrupulous park owners from taking advantage of that situation and trying to have them moved out or evicted after they got a lot of money into their home. So it is a different process. But for me, the trade-off is worth it. They own the home, they pay the taxes, they pay the insurance. I don't have to worry about anything. So we have a park in Lidditz, and there's 38 homes there. If I was renting them all, my income would probably be 3 times as high, literally. But I would also I'd have 38 roofs that I have to take care of, and 38 heating systems, and 38 everything on and on. So for me, tenant-owned homes is definitely the way to go. So public utilities really is a deal breaker. Growing population, that's a deal breaker. Average income and average home price, if I'm filling the park, that's a deal breaker. Clean layout. I do have a park in Bellefonte. I like the area. It's right near State College. The people had it before. Their dad built the park, and they just did stupid things. There was the trailers like the pink one up there. When the small ones came out, somebody wanted to put a 14 by 70 in, and they put it in an angle because it had to take up 2 spaces. And it just, I don't know, it just bothers me. I can't easily make it nice. I can't easily make it look nice. So a clean park layout is not necessarily a deal breaker, but you're going to have some challenges if it's not laid out nice. 55 plus community, that's something I prefer. That's definitely not a deal breaker if it's not a 55 plus community. Tenant-owned homes, I don't think I would buy one if it was over 50% park-owned homes. If it was less, 50% or less, depends on the area, you can sell the homes back to the tenants. The other thing that you got to keep in mind is with park-owned homes, it's just like a rental. They're gonna be out in 30 months. They're not gonna be there forever. They don't own it. They don't have any real vested interest or reason to stay there. So I want to get them converted over to tenant-owned homes. So you can sell them the homes, you can rent to own the homes, but my goal would be as quickly as possible to get them out of park-owned homes. 40 years it taught me. So it seemed like when I had single-family homes and 4 units, yeah, I was always having to do something, fix something, hustle. But now I put the systems in place, and the things kind of follow themselves. Management definitely matters. To me, it's way easier to manage mobile home parks and single-family. Affordable housing demand is real. I don't think that's going away. I don't know. It's just self-storage to me. I know I'm beating up self-storage, but they're going to build more tomorrow, and they're going to build more next week. They're not building any more mobile home parks. If you can get one today, the chance of somebody putting one in down the street or 5 miles away from you is almost zero. So the demand is going to stay. Don't buy properties that are out of your buy box. So once you if you're looking at parks and you figure out which way you want to go, and if you want to do park-owned homes, instead of getting $500 a month rent, there are people getting $1,500 a month, but it's going to be much more management intense, and you're going to have somebody on site. You're going to have somebody there that can get to these problems and fix them quick. So if that's your buy box, great. But for me, I'm never going to buy a park that's 100% park-owned homes. The numbers look really good. The income's really high. But, man, when you consider you're paying the taxes, you're paying the insurance, and you're paying the maintenance, to me, it's just not worth it. So anyway, after 40 years in real estate, that's where I landed because this kind of suits me. I had a property management company. I think with mobile home parks, probably the biggest concern is the management piece of it. There's not a lot of repairs. So if somebody is a contractor or somebody loves flipping or fixing things, maybe you want to get into fixing mobile homes or maybe fix them up and keep them as park-owned homes. But for me, I would just rather not have to fix things. So I get very few phone calls. I don't ever get phone calls from somebody telling me something that's wrong with their house. The phone calls that I get are we didn't plow the driveway fast enough, or there may be a water leak, and that usually is our responsibility. But the residents, they own their own home, so if the water heater leaks, it's on them. Easy to make a huge impact in the neighborhood. In Lidditz, I would say we definitely did that, and there's a little one down on Ponderosa Lane, just north of Quarryville. Had an old barn that was literally like falling in and the house beside it, and we just cleaned it up. We put new homes in there, and I don't get any calls. So small changes make a big impact. So this is the other thing that really got my attention. If you can buy a park today and break even, I'd say depending on where it is, buy it. I don't even have to make money. I know that sounds weird. I used to say the same thing to people. If you buy a single family home and just break even, buy it. But if the rents haven't been pushed to market, which in Lanchester County now it's going to be at least $500. So if you can buy a park that has 100 spaces, or over a period of years accumulate 100 spaces, and there's some inefficiencies that you can fix, then there's not quite at market rent. So you're going to raise rent $50, which is pretty reasonable, and probably going to raise it in a year or two another $50 anyway. And you can bill for trash or water or sewer. The tenants are using it, they should pay for it. So if you raise rents $50 and get rid of $50 of expense, that's $100 a month. That's per unit times 100 units, that's 10 grand a month. It's $120,000 a year. So if you can get your hands on a park with 100 spaces, raise rent $50, get rid of water or trash or sewer bill, that's 120 grand a year. And at a 10 cap, which parks are definitely not selling at a 10 cap, you just increase the value of the park by 1. So the small change have a big impact. When you raise your, if you have an apartment building at 8 or 10 units and you raise it $50 or $100, great, you got an extra $1,000. Here you have an extra $10,000. So they're not glamorous, but they're nice. Some of the ones we had, you can get them with drywall, you can get them with tile showers and farm sinks, and there's a park in Lidditz that's closing right now, Plateau Village, and there's been a lot of people discussing different things, and I've spoke before township, and I think what people have to realize with affordable housing, and this is for the people that are affordable housing proponents that are saying, hey, there's not enough around, and let's do subsidize something. The people that need and are looking for affordable housing, they have to give up something. If you want to live in Lidditz, and you want to live in a house in Lidditz, it's $450. That's what it is. If you don't want to live in Lidditz, I can find a house for you somewhere in Pennsylvania for 100 grand. But if you want to live in Lidditz, it's $450. So what are you willing to give up? You're either going to rent a place, or you're going to have to give up ownership or part of ownership. You can get a smaller house, you can give up quality, but the only thing I can think of that's left, if you want to live in Lidditz and own something, you're going to have to give up at least partial ownership. So you're giving up ownership of the dirt, and you're going to pay lot rent for the dirt, and then you can buy a house. You can buy whatever house you want, spend as much money as you want. You can buy them as cheap as set up and ready to go with air conditioning and a deck for $99, or you can, for a single wide, you can spend up to $149 and get something really nice. But you got to give up something. For investors that are willing to learn the business, they provide stable cash flow, long-term wealth, opportunity to make a real difference in the community they serve. I don't know if you're going to either rent an apartment or rent dirt, and I don't understand why so many people get hung up on the renting the dirt part, because there's a lot of people up in the park right now that are just thrilled to be there, and they can afford to be there. And if you can find a park and make it a decent place for people to live and affordable, they're going to be there forever. And as soon as one of your residents need to leave or move or sell their home, it's going to get sold, and somebody else is going to be there paying you lot rent. Okay, so if you want to learn more, you want to connect, there's my name and phone number. If you're interested in the book, you can scan it. It's available on Amazon. I didn't want to, that's not really the reason why I'm here. I really did enjoy writing the book. And I do have 2 of the parks that I own are one's with my significant other, so we have a reason to travel and do things and let the government write off some expenses. And the other thing was one of my best friends that I've known for 40 years, best man at my wedding, and we bought a park together. And I'm still looking today, just haven't found anything, but putting all my thoughts in one place in the book was fun. All right, so with all that being said, I know there wasn't a whole lot of talk about mobile home parks, but I'll be happy to try and answer any questions anybody might have.
Joe, I have a couple questions.
Yes, Russ?
What's the difference classification-wise between mobile homes and tiny?
Oh, excellent question. I don't know why. Oh, Russ wants to know what the difference is between like a tiny home, a mobile home, RVs. There are people that will lump RVs, like on Crexy, I think they lump RV parks and mobile home parks in the same category. To me, they're not even the same. To me, tenant-owned homes and park-owned homes aren't even the same. So a tiny home, if it doesn't have a HUD sticker, is going to go by the RV code. So in Florida, there are mobile home parks that you can put a manufactured home in, or a fifth wheel, or a tiny home, because it's going to be $200,000 to have it get a HUD sticker on it. So HUD's for safety and energy efficiency. So if you build a HUD tiny home, you got to have 2x6 walls and lots of insulation. You can't have, there's certain standards, I shouldn't say can't, there's certain standards for how you access lofts. They want steps and railings. A tiny home, you can just put a ladder in there. So they're worried about safety, they're worried about efficiency. So a tiny home, there are some places that are allowing them, and Lanchester has an Appendix Z. They've been talking about it for years, and I had considered putting tiny homes in up at Lidditz, but it was just too much effort. You're going to pay the same amount for a tiny home as you will for a mobile home, and they're about half the size. But if you wanted to move yours every year or two, or I don't know, I guess if you wanted to, you could move it from Pennsylvania to Florida every year. That'd be a bit much, but tiny homes are cool. They're usually really well built, and it's a quality product, but they're just really small. So I do want to talk a little bit about RV parks and mobile home parks. If you're looking on Crexy or LoopNet and you see them together, RV parks are a business. They're a business. I have a motorhome and I love traveling, but I come to a place, I'm only staying there for a day or two. Somebody's taking my money and I get a site and I back in and hook up and I leave. There are some RV parks where people stay for the whole season. And that's better, but they're still in Pennsylvania and New York area, they're typically not there year round. So even if you're getting $4,500 or $5,000 for a year, it's a different model. Plus, when you go places, I'm 6'8". I want to get a real shower, not scrunched into motorhome. So they got to have showers, a bathhouse. They have to have laundry facilities. Some of them have swimming pools. So it's a business. So there's definitely a difference between RV parks and mobile home parks. Tenant-owned homes and park-owned homes, to me, are two different things. Tenant-owned homes, tenants are staying forever. They're there for 13 years or life. You're not responsible for anything in the home. They're paying taxes and insurance. So even that distinction, to me, is a really big difference.
And my other question was, you keep mentioning about it's hard to find mobile home parks to buy. Why aren't you building them?
I'd love to talk to Governor Shapiro about that. I honestly think, I only know of one that's got built in the last 10 years, and it really wasn't even built. Scott Rhodes sold 50 or 60 acres in Honeybrook. UMH bought it, and they built a brand new park there. It's beautiful. It's got walking trails and curbs and sidewalks and nice homes, and the lot rent's $700 a month. But it's a really nice park, but even that one isn't new. Maybe the stigma, people don't want a trailer park in their area. Mobile homes have their own classification. And as far as I know, in Pennsylvania, every municipality has their own classification. It's not a house. It's not a single family home. It's a mobile home. So it has to be zoned for that. Yep, so there's one little spot in every municipality. You have to allow for everything, commercial, residential, industrial. So have a little mobile home park wherever their mobile home park happen to be, and that's where they zone it. If you're really interested, there is some exciting things going on. Just last week, HUD decided that mobile manufactured homes do not have to have a frame. They do not have to have a metal frame. Right now, today, if you buy a single wide or double wide, it's going to come with a title, just like your car. And if the double wide, it's going to have a trailer number, an A and a B on the title for part 1 and part 2 for the double wide, and it comes in on a trailer, like a tiny homes are in a trailer, manufactured homes are in a trailer. So they no longer have to have that frame. So right now, by law, when you bring a single wide in, the frame has to be at least a foot off the ground for access. The frame itself is about a foot. It's a giant I-beam. There's 2 I-beams there. And then there's 2x8s or whatever is on the flooring. So you have 3 feet before you get the grade level of the home. If we can get rid of the metal frame, which has happened, you can be 2 feet lower. So now for 55 plus communities or age people, you can literally just be 1 step off of a concrete pad. I don't know what's going to happen for access for the utilities. I don't know. But just shed haulers, they bring in a big giant shed. And once your site's set up, they bring it in, they set it down, they kind of pull it out and drop it, and it's right there. It's currently legal. Superior Home, I'm not sure what all the advantages are, but you can put a concrete pad, you can put a home in there, and it's going to be 8 inches off the concrete pad. So I think there's a stigma, and I think that if the trailer frame goes away, it's not a mobile home. If it's not a mobile home, any place that's approved for zoning for a single family home, are they allowed there? It's not a mobile home. So nobody's done this yet because it just went through. But if that happens, maybe we will see more parks, because then you just put concrete pads on and it's a single family home. It's not a mobile home.
Which kind of goes back to what I was asking about earlier with tiny homes. You can literally go to Home Depot in some areas, buy a shed, put it on your land, and turn it into a tiny home. It's based off of zoning.
Yeah, zoning's the big thing. Yes, sir. Typically, the axles, they come in now, typically with 4 axles. The axles go. They get recycled, so the axles are gone. They will, I don't know. As far as I know, Superior Homes is one of the biggest sellers of homes in the area, and I've talked to them, and they haven't done one yet. But, yeah, the wheels will definitely be gone. They're gone now, and they typically unbolt the hitch, and they just throw it under the home. But if the frame goes, I'm excited mainly because of what happens with zoning. It's a single family home. So that opens up them being able to be in a whole lot more places other than just the manufactured home zoning.
Would that mean they could inspect the construction?
That's a good question, because some places, they don't care. They don't inspect anything. They come out and they look at the footers, and they'll look at the connection, and they'll look at the disconnect, but everything in the home, the code officer doesn't care because it's built to the HUD standard, so everything in that box, they don't worry about. The other thing you do need to be careful is you're not really allowed to attach anything to a manufactured home. You're not really allowed to attach porches to it. Some place to get as finicky as you're not even allowed to put a satellite dish on it, but you're not supposed to attach anything. So when you build a deck, you build it right up to it. You don't physically attach it to the home. Oh, you got in the back? I'll come to you in a second. Yes, sir.
So what's going to be the difference once the council is moved between that or the modular home?
I don't know. That's a really good question, because if you build superior walls or something and slide it on there and have a full basement, what would the difference be? The biggest thing that I think is going to be the zoning. It's no longer a mobile home. It's a single family home, because without the frame, I just don't see them being able to classified as a vehicle. It's not. A shed's not a vehicle. It's coming in on a shed and, you're sliding off and it's a big wooden box. So it's not going to be a vehicle anymore without the frame. So, yep, and that's national. That's not Pennsylvania, it's national.
Yeah, you mentioned the rent. If they don't pay rent, it's a different eviction process. Would you care to explain that a little bit? What happens if they don't pay rent?
Sure. The Landlord-Tenant Act of 1951 in Pennsylvania says that if somebody doesn't pay rent, and in the lease, if you have them waive their right to notice, you can almost instantly, go to court and file for non-payment of rent. And the judge has some leniency there that if you bring them to court and they pay up, he's probably going to do what's called a pay and stay. He said they had a problem, they fixed it, they can stay. And they'll do that 3 or 4 times sometimes. Acts 261 says, hey, these people own their own home. They're owners. They're not just tenants. We're not going to let you just try and kick them out and steal their home from them. So you have to send a certified letter. You can't post the property. You can't hand it to them. You have to send a certified letter. Whether they accept it or not, it has to be certified. And before you can go to court, you have to do that twice for the same problem. So if you say that if they're not paying or if they're not cleaning up and you send them a certified letter and they solve that problem and it doesn't happen again for 6 months, then you start all over again. I don't know if it's going to be horribly long after that happens. Knock on wood, I haven't had that past the certified letter part yet. But that, if you really want somebody to leave and they're really causing a problem, that's going to be a little bit of a problem because the certified letters have to be at least 30 days apart. So at the bare minimum, you're going to have to put up with it for at least a month. And then some judges are going to be more lenient because they own their home. I've offered that I'll move their home, and that eliminates the issue. I like single wides. A lot of people say, oh, why don't you put double wides in? Why? They take up more room. I like kids, just not yours. And I don't want bicycles and swings and trampolines. And so almost everything we do is 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And just like in the apartment world, if you have a second-floor apartment and you don't want to rent to somebody with small children, you legally can't discriminate. So when you redo your second-floor apartment, just put in a shower. Don't put in a tub. When mom comes in there and she's looking through and she doesn't have a place to bathe the little kids in the tub, it's just a shower, they go somewhere else. But that same philosophy in a mobile home park. If you don't want a bunch of kids, don't have a park with 3-bedroom homes, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. All righty. Anybody else have any questions? Mr. King.
So are you ready for competition?
Sure.
What I really wanted to ask was, which is your most favorite park transformation, and would you tell us a little bit about the most thing you did to really move the needle?
Lidditz, far and away Lidditz. So a broker called, and I was building a relationship. Typically, it's going to be hard to find a park. If somebody can find a park and it's worth buying, you need to talk to your uncle, your mom, your brother, get some money and go buy it. There are just not that many out there. So when a broker would call me, I would always reply back. I'd reply emails. I was courteous because I wanted him to keep calling me. So he calls me and says, hey, got a park in your area? And, yeah, okay, great. What is it? He goes, it's in Lidditz. I almost dropped the phone. And I'm like, that's where I want to be. So what is it? He goes, it's 36 spaces, and they want $2 million. Now at the time, I was like, $2 million's a little bit. All right, so what can you tell me about it? So he gave me a little bit of information. I drove up, look at it. It is horrible. Potholes, half vacant, feral cats running everywhere. And I don't remember exactly what came first, chicken or the egg, but I just kept talking to him for information. I want to get the story. So it was owned by a couple of people. One of them was a township supervisor, and there's a commercial building on each side, and they kind of thought that we'll just buy the park. We need more parking. It's 4 acres. We'll just let everybody leave, and we'll divvy up the land, and we can do whatever we want with it. hardly anybody left in 7 or 8 years since they bought it. So they put it up for sale because they didn't have the heart to kick people out. So it's for sale for $2 million. I find out who owns it. And I'm thinking, man, that's a lot of money. And I had just lost a park to somebody else. And what they did, I was courting the owner for months. I'd been to his house, sat at his table, rode in his golf cart around his park, and what would you do? And we'll get rid of these trees, we'll get that. It was me and him. We were buddies, and I was going to buy his park. And like an idiot, somewhere along the way, I was talking to somebody, and it was getting really close. And I said, I think I got this park wrapped up, 2 million, 2.5, whatever it was. And I frickin' said 50 spaces. And I never should have said 50 spaces. So if you guys want to buy a park and you don't want me to buy it, don't tell me what state it's in and how many units it is, because I'll find it. And this guy found it and talked to the owner. And somebody else offered $250,000 down hard, 10% down hard, which means that's your money. You sign the agreement, it's your money. So I cried and licked my wounds. And when I found Lidditz, I said, it worked for him against me. I'm going to do that. So I wrote a sales agreement. They wanted 2. I offered them $1 million with $100,000 down. I said, if you sign the sales, I got to backtrack. After I found out who owned it and why they bought it, I said, what's their biggest concern? Obviously, they want to sell, but how can I present an offer that they'll accept? What are they worried about? And the broker told me they don't want a tire kicker. They don't want somebody to put in an offer and change their mind. Unbeknownst to me at the time, I didn't do all my due diligence, and there was an 11-foot discrepancy on the back of the park. And still today, there's still one home over that property line. And I really believe that the owners, they had to know about it. They didn't want somebody to find out about it, and then they have to disclose it or have to move homes, or there's going to be a problem. So they were afraid during due diligence somebody's going to find out something they don't like, change their mind and back away. Now it's public knowledge. Now everybody knows about it. Now they're going to have a problem. So with that bit of information, I said, okay, I'm going to buy it. I'll give you $100,000. You sign this sales agreement. I'm buying this park, or you keep that money. They signed the agreement in 24 hours. Now I'm off and running. Cleaned it up as much as we could, paved the streets, cut down trees, moved homes. And my goal was to be a good neighbor, so when it comes time to ask the township for something, they can already see what I'm doing and improving things. So we started bringing homes in, cleaned things up, and now it's time to do something, and there's still a few homes that are over the property line. So Warwick Township has been great to work with, wonderful. I can't say anything bad about them at all. They really treated me well. We got the place cleaned up nice. And I said, there's still some homes that are over the line, and we want to put new homes in. So when we put new homes in, can we just put them up to the line? Because we're going to push more homes in. So I went before the zoning hearing board and said, can I get a 0-line setback? And they granted it. They didn't say you got to be back 2 feet, you got to be back 5 feet. They gave me a 0-line setback. So every home that we put in, we do put them in about 18 inches or 2 feet so you can get a mower through there. But by them granting me that, allowed me to put a little bit bigger home in. The other thing is all the old homes have a door on the side, and then they have a porch on the side. And that's another reason we went to gable-end porches, because I said, look, these homes are really close together, and they're 14-foot wide homes. If we take all the side porches off, which are 6 or 8 feet wide, and we'll just put a gable-end porch in the front, can we put 16s in there, which are 15 feet wide, instead of 14s, which are 13? So the homes are a little bit closer, but from a fire perspective, or from the fire code, there's no porch there. So the homes are a little bit closer together, but there's no burnable structure. So they're actually, the burnable part's farther apart, but even though the homes are a little bit closer together. So they've just been really good to work with. And now it's a really nice community. So that's a home run all day long for the residents, for the community, the township, and for us. And it just worked out really good.
And what was the difference in lot rent?
I think we were at 380. We're at 5.25 now, and it's definitely not market. But the park's worth at least 3 times what I paid for, probably 4.
How many years is
How many years is that? Not many. Maybe 4. Yeah. Yeah. There's Glenn, there's a park right beside the one you own that sold at auction not too terribly long ago at $86,000 per space. Yeah. So that park was not nice. Lidditz is really nice. There's no doubt in my mind it's worth 100 per space. Now there's 38 spaces, so 3.8 or 4 million, and I bought it for $1 million. So I would do that deal every day of the week. Yeah, and the residents aren't getting beat up. They got a really nice place to live, brand new streets. We put in some self-storage units, so if they don't want to have a shed or can't afford a shed, they can have self-storage units. It's just a really nice place. Yes, sir. So there's a little bit of empty space in the middle, and we had to plant some trees. We had to put it, I can't remember which township's which, but sometimes they'll have you put it on 8 inches of stone instead of just 4, and that 8 inches of stone becomes a seepage bed, and it has to be out a foot past the edge of the building. So there's some things that they're going to want you to do for impervious surface, plant a few trees. But like I said, Warwick Township was great to deal with. Honeybrook's good to deal with. Heidi down at Providence is great to deal with. Up at Bellefonte, the reason I haven't done a lot up there is the township's great to deal with, but Center County is tough. Center County has a state college in it, and we wanted to put some new homes in there, and they wanted me to put in a 28-foot wide road to put 4 more homes in, to access homes. And I'm thinking, the park's serviced by a 12-foot wide goat path, and they want me to put a 28-foot road in and some other unreasonable things. So the township's good to work with, and we're taking some old ones out and putting some new ones in. But when it comes time to actually add new ones that aren't there, it's just difficult. So that would be something else that you want to consider. Is the township going to be favorable to changes that you need to or want to make?
If I understood you, so you pay up to 100,000 a lot and you're getting $500 a month, so that's about 6% a year. Is that, you said break even, so.
That's probably about break even, yeah. So if you can find something, and I would never just base it strictly on that number of 100,000 per lot or whatever. That's what they're going for in Florida and Colorado and maybe Lanchester County, but out in even Penn State, it's going to be more like 50 a lot. And lot rent around here is going to be 600 or 700. So they've gone up a lot. First couple parks there were in the 30s, and that was only 8 years ago. It's just they're desirable demand. Oh, we run out of time. I see Chris is starting over there. Got time for another question or two, if anybody else has any. Another one from Kevin.
Yeah, like how do you, now we talk about the things that were good. It was a good deal to buy single families 10 years ago when they were in the dumps. How do you, was it a good idea? Did you know it was a good idea back then?
I think buying a single-family home today would be a good idea. I hate to say break even because I don't want people to take it the wrong way, but if you can go find a cute little house somewhere for, I don't know how you're going to even break even though, because you're going to pay $250 for the house, and you're going to rent it for $2,000. I don't even know how you're going to break even. But if you could find houses today that you could break even, that would be fine. But there's going to have to be some kind of correction, some kind of something. But single family homes are like the standard. Everybody has one. Every bank will finance them. You can easily sell them. And there's a lot of competition for them, but there's a lot of them out there. But if somebody wants to get into the real estate game, what I tell them is just get on base. Buy something. Don't have to be a home run. It can be a single. And if it ain't a single, lean into a pitch. I don't know. Take a walk. Just get on base. Get that first home. Because you could come to as many of these meetings as you want and read as many books as you want, but when you actually own the house or own the park or own the self-storage unit, that first one, man, it's a steep learning curve. But if you've done your homework, you hopefully took the big risks out, but that's when you really start learning.
Oh, one last one. How do you establish, how do you go schmooze with sellers of mobile home parks to have a relationship? Yeah, how do you start a relationship? Doesn't Joe
Or we could buy one together. Compliment them on their park. Some of they're getting pretty old now. The guys that built the parks in the 60s and 70s are getting pretty old. You might end up be dealing with their kids. But let's see, the first park, the owner currently, I've been to his house in Florida. I would consider him a friend. His granddaughter has a park, and a couple of his sons have parks. And I was just over somebody's house the other day talking about mobile home parks. Really, just really nice people. But he financed the first park. The second park, a realtor brought to me. It was cheap. It was $300,000. It was only 8 or 9 units. 9 today was 8 units. $300,000. I gave him $100,000 and financed. The owner financed $200,000 for me for a little while, paid him off. Up in Bellefonte, it was $1 million. I think we might have talked him down to 9. I think we gave him 2, and they financed $700,000. So it depends on what they want. People say to me, how do you talk them into seller financing? I'm not talking them into seller financing. They have a problem, and I help them solve it, because back at the time, before interest rates were really high, the most they were going to get was 2 or 3% at the bank. And if I'm going to give them 5% on a property that they know, and when I lend money, I make people sign a confession of judgment. Don't talk to Russ about them. And when I borrow money, I'll sign a confession of judgment. If they're lending me money and they have the collateral of their park and they get a couple $100,000, seller financing is not a bad thing. So I would say talk to the owner, build a relationship. Don't be in any big hurry, because it's going to be a process, and find out what they want, what they need, how you can solve that problem, and then don't tell anybody.
You added storage, so part of my question is going to be, what do you look at for value adds like storage or other, and then also, in the first part of this question is, how are you evaluating, and question and answer that's in, how are you evaluating what's
Okay, so we wanted to know about self-storage and value adds. So self-storage kind of for me was an afterthought. We did it down at Ponderosa. There was remnants of an old barn. I don't know, I just like old things. I didn't want to destroy the old foundation, so we actually put the self-storage in the old barn. The whole barn is gone, but the self-storage is in the barn. And then up at Lidditz, once again, it was an afterthought. There's some nice grassy areas in the center, and we put them there. I don't want to beat the residents up for having stuff outside and outside storage, and not everybody can afford a $3,000 or $4,000 shed now. So that was why I put the storage in. And it was really the very last thing. There's probably people that had stuff in there for a couple months before we started charging them. It really wasn't to make money. It is now that the park is full, but number one was any way you can increase the lots. More lots will increase income. Value add, make it pretty, raise the rent, lots, and then self-storage afterthought. Evaluating deals, it's not totally science. There's a little bit of art to it, and if you can get seller financing, that's even better. But those things that I put up there that were deal breakers for me, that's the first thing. Is it gaining or losing population? Does it have public utilities? How many lots are there total, and how many of them are full? Out of the ones that are full, how many are park owned? And yeah, I hate to say, I don't know, it was fun writing the book. I don't want to necessarily plug the book, but in the book, at the end of each chapter, there's a homework assignment. After chapter 1, it's just learn these terminologies. Just learn POH means park owned home, and TOH is tenant owned home. So if you are talking to a broker, you can at least talk and understand the language, and then start looking at Crexy and LoopNet, and just look at something you might be interested in. Maybe it's in Florida or Texas. And is it public utilities? Are they parking? And just start looking at them. So at the end of the first couple chapters, there's a little bit of a homework assignment to do to get your brain going around what could I be looking for and what would be a good deal to me. So there's definitely no formula. So don't go out and say, Joe said I'm supposed to buy a park in Lanchester County for $100,000 a lot, because it might not be a good deal. But that average of about $100,000 a lot is what it is. It's an average. Yeah. After the meeting, talked to Carl. He has a couple of parks in Ohio. It's not a million miles away, but it's still a day's drive. So he has a couple in Ohio. My farthest one is Alabama. I bought it because it's warm and because the utilities were direct paid. I have very little responsibility there, and I go there and check it out, and it's a business expense. Glenn, did you have a, oh, yeah.
How do you gauge your lot rent? I feel like I'm always guessing my lot rent. I think other parts and obviously the condition and the improvements that we made. Our tenants have never complained yet, and the one tenant said, "Oh, you could have went up even higher."
That's,
Keep all our tenants we have got rid of our bad ones.
yeah.
How do you get? I don't nostalgia. At the same time, I feel like we could turn it around.
So I'll tell you something that's probably not, I don't know, anybody watching here that lives in any of my parks probably not going to want to hear this, but if you can buy a trailer and put it on the lot, foundation, footer, skirts, siding, and everything, and if you can sell that for significantly more, I'm not talking like 10 grand or 15 grand, you got to do something, but if you can sell for 20 or 25 or 30,000 more than what the cost of the home is, your lot rent's probably too low. Because if you're selling that home, you're buying it for 60 or 70 from steel, and you're putting 15, 20 in to get it set, and you can sell for 130 or 140, your lot rent's probably too low because the person is looking at the price of the home and the lot rent. So when you're in California and you have an ocean view of the Pacific, and these people are selling their double wides for 1.2 million, it is not because the home or the trailer or the sticks are worth that. It's because they have rent control, and the lot rent is maxed out at $1,200 or $1,500 a month or whatever it is with the ocean view. If lot rent wasn't maxed out, lot rent would be $3,000 a month, and people would pay it. So to answer your question, I definitely would call around. I know at 525 I'm low, and I just raised lot rent May 1st. I could be at 600. Sorry, everybody in Lidditz, but it's true. And we'll be there in a year or two, but if you're making money and you're doing okay, I would do incremental lot rents every year. I wouldn't wait 2 or 3 years and then hit them with a $50 increase. The other thing you can do is once you get to market, and let's say you're at 500 and you shop around and everybody in the area is 450 to 550 and you think you're at market, then you could just always raise it whatever the CPI is, or CPIV or CPIU, whatever it is, that consumer price index for real estate, and then whatever that is. If it's 5%, you raise it 5%, and nobody can blame you for it because you're just raising it whatever the consumer price index is. But if you make some improvements, raise the rent, I don't think you need to be at the very top of the market, and I think you can still make money. What time is it, Chris? Oh, okay. I guess that's about it, unless anybody else has a question. If not, see me afterwards. I love talking about parks. All right, that's it. It for me.
Good stuff, Joe. Thank you. The folks that know Joe well call him the professor because of what he knows about real estate. And Joe has forgotten more about real estate than most of us will ever know. So he's a good guy to get to know. Next meeting, we're going to do kind of like a deal or no deal panel. So we'll have, right now I have 3 folks that agreed to be up on the panel. I have a 4th guy that's pending. So I'm going to rely on you guys to come with the content. So if you have a deal you're working on or would like to work on, feel free to bring it to the group and they can evaluate it, tell you what they would do. And if you're nervous about speaking in front of a group, you can email it to me or come up to me before the meeting and share the details and I'll present it. So keep that in mind. Go ahead, Joe.
Just throw it out there that there's a subject everybody would like to learn a little bit more about.
Sure.
If they're going to email you, maybe email some topics, and then that way circulate these and try to find a speaker for that topic.
Yeah, appreciate that. So Joe was saying if there's a topic you would enjoy learning more about, let me know as well. Joe's on the board, and he's very instrumental in keeping this running. So feel free to email me suggestions. If I get enough of one topic, we'll try to make it a point to get an expert in here to cover that. Cool. So last couple things. There's a sign-up sheet on the back. If you want to be on the email list, you can put your information down on the sign-up sheet. There is, for those of you that don't have email, we have a call blast system where we send out a phone message the Friday before the meeting. You can sign up back there as well. We have a YouTube channel and also a phone number you can call to listen to previous meetings. So if you enjoy what you learned tonight, check those out and see what other experts we had up here. Cool. We'll wrap it up. Go out and make a new friend.